From the Northway Bank Online Newsroom, I'm Gare McKenzie. This local and regional news update is brought to you by Northway Bank. Like Northway Bank on Facebook, and they'll donate $1 up to the first $1,000 to the New Hampshire Food Bank. Visit facebook.com/Northway Bank today. Northway Bank with 17 locations throughout New Hampshire. The people you know, the bank you trust. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Here's the news. Conway Fire Chief Steve Solomon says it took about 25 minutes yesterday morning to remove the entire side of a driver's sedan to free the driver after a collision on Route 16 in Albany. Conway Fire and Rescue responded shortly after 6:30 to the area near the Golden Age shop, where Solomon says more than an inch of snow covered the icy road. The chief says a Valley resident in his 30s driving a southbound SUV lost control and slid into the driver's side door of a northbound sedan being driven by another Valley resident in his 40s. The force of the collision spun the sedan around and the driver was trapped inside. The road was closed while responders worked at the scene. Here's Solomon.
Extreme damage to both vehicles, heavy entrapment, and we would credit the operators wearing their seatbelt for greatly reducing their level of injury.
Airbags deployed in both vehicles. The SUV driver was not hurt. The driver of the sedan suffered bruises and was cut by glass. He complained of pain in his side. He was taken to Memorial Hospital in North Conway with what Solomon says were non-life-threatening injuries. Route 16 was reopened to traffic about 7:45. Firefighters took advantage of a civilian helicopter Tuesday afternoon to find a hard-to-locate illegal brush fire in Conway. Center Conway Fire Chief Ray Levitt says his department and Conway firefighters responded shortly after 1:45 after a report of smoke coming from a large brush fire in the area of the Conway-Eaton town line near the southern end of Conway Lake. Shifting winds made the fire difficult to locate from the ground, so North Conway Fire Chief Pat Priest accepted North Conway resident Ned Sullivan's offer of a helicopter ride to help search from the air. Here's Levitt.
Way off the road, it was off Greeley Road and up a pretty good-sized incline. There was a cabin that was built sometime back in the 30s or 40s, like a hunting cabin. They'd cleared some brush and a few trees so that they could get some views from the cabin and had a pretty good-sized fire. The problem is, a red flag day, wasn't supposed to be any burning. And I think he was pretty surprised how deep it burned into the ground. We called the state fire warden, Bob Boyd, to come in and explain the rules to him. I believe he ended up with a written warning.
Levitt says firefighters had to hike about a quarter-mile in from Greeley Road and then use hand pumps to draw well water to extinguish the fire. No one was hurt, and firefighters cleared the scene shortly before 4 o'clock. Winds were gusting in the Conway area throughout the day, and fire permits were not being issued. A red flag warning was in effect, meaning low humidity and windy and dry conditions combined to make for potentially dangerous wildfires. In Maine news, the state's preparing for a presidential visit. President Obama is set to attend a pair of fundraisers in the state tomorrow. The first will be held at Southern Maine Community College in South Portland. A private event will then be held at the Portland Museum of Art, with tickets starting at $5,000. Both events are sold out. In sports, Manchester Monarchs head coach Mark Morris says his team fumbled too many passes at key moments last night at the Cumberland County Civic Center as the Monarchs were beaten 4-1 by the Portland Pirates. The Minnesota Golden Gophers are back in the NCAA Frozen Four for the first time in 7 years. The Gophers will face Boston College next Thursday in the semifinals. For the first time since 1989, all four top seeds have reached the NCAA Women's Final Four. This year's field of Baylor, Stanford, UConn, and Notre Dame is arguably the strongest ever. And Kevin Garnett scored 23 and added 10 boards, and Rajon Rondo had 14 assists to lead the Boston Celtics to a 94-82 win over the Utah Jazz last night. In the weather today, cloudy, a chance of rain or snow showers mainly this morning. Highs of the lower 40s, northwest winds 10 to 15 miles per hour. Mostly cloudy in the evening tonight, then partly clearing, lows in the lower 20s, and mostly sunny Friday, highs around 40. From the Northway Bank Online Newsroom, I'm Gare McKenzie.